I've had some patrons that do watch me, and they had been inboxing me and saying they were struggling. So I thought I'd jump on and have a quick chat as a little bit of support during the astrology, because this month is a hard month. And I did say, I really said to the members, I was like, you know what, when I looked at it, I laughed, I cried, and I went, oh Lord, this is going to be a bit of a showdown. And it is due to the fact that we've got so many hard aspects, so many changes. We had the full moon in Capricorn, which quite frankly was not fun. And I did say, really moving over, it's going to be go, go, go. And then we're moving to Aries in Chiron, moving retrograde, which is really, as we get closer to the 19th, it's going to be a little bit testing, okay? So if you're feeling anxious, always look to the moon for the emotion. So it'll take on a different flavor, you'll get a different emotion, and you'll have those things coming through. There can be a little bit of frustration at the moment, so you might find, at some point you're going to reach this point where all your memories are going to come back. You could feel that you've hit a status quo, that you've got to a point something's got to give. And more than likely it is because the Leo moon is coming. Now, the Leo moon is going to be a positive thing, but it can be where we're going to be very anxious. It can be where we're going to be getting to a point where we feel we have to do something. And it might be due to something that plays out. It could be because of some news that comes in. It might be because of something that we're dealing with at the moment. And again, it's making some hard aspects, some good aspects to Jupiter, but some hard aspects to Mercury. So we need to be mindful, obviously. But, with Uranus and Taurus in the mix, it's almost sometimes something can come about where we directly have to make a decision. And, Uranus and Taurus next month is going retrograde. So I'm already doing the blog posts for that to prepare us so that we know what the deal is. But a lot of you can be extremely anxious. You can be very reflective, very anxious at the moment. You'll have good days, you'll have bad days. You're going to get to a point you're going to be thinking, in particular zodiac signs are going to be feeling it the hardest. And I have been hearing a lot from Pisces and Leo at the moment, Libra most definitely, and Aries. But definitely for those of you that are Leo, any one of you that have anything active over the 12th house, I had a bit of a chat to a client tonight about it, and was really saying, look, we need to understand a little bit about the 12th house. The 12th house can be the house of imprisonment, and that can be mental bondage because we're thinking and we psychologically can't let go of something. It can be the house of mental asylums. It can be spiritual as well. It's a closing of a chapter. So, Juno and Pisces is going retrograde. Aries and Chiron on the 19th will be going retrograde. And Aries and Chiron is like the hero's journey. So the hero's journey is, it's going from the 12th house to the first house. So it's almost like reaching this pivotal point of realizing that we have to challenge our fair-based frequencies. We need to look at the commonality of the fellow brother and realize that we do have diversity that we're all currently dealing with at this point in life, be it it's relating to, our wellness and being able to achieve some of these things. This was one of the years that we were going to be working our necks off to get things done. And so, if people are really tired and they feel they've been hitting a wall constantly, really not achieving anything, this is a month of that restructure. But this pressure point moving into this Leo moon is going to be quite pivotal with having those breakthroughs and going, right, I have to physically do something. Let me think outside the box. What can I do to create that stability? There's going to be a lot to do with relationships coming up. It is a lot to do with Venus. So it's our wellness, it's our money, it's our romantic connections. It's going to affect singles, couples, twin flame, soulmates, in the mix. And of course, especially those of you that are single, with Uranus and Taurus, what I have noticed, it's younger and older generations. It can be you're a single parent and you're trying to deal with how do you work and how do you balance home and work, so to speak. It could be you're in a family and you've really pinched with your budget and you're trying to work out how to navigate those situations. And then there's stress points with the communication factor and connections. Be it it's with your loved ones, your families, or whoever that may be, those tension points are going to come up. And everyone's really very tired. So You know, we do have the forward movement at the moment with Jupiter and Aries, which makes us feel like we just want to hit the road and go and have a holiday, which was quite unique because I did mention that during Jupiter going retrograde, there was a possibility of less flights, and that could have been through a circumstance playing out, or it was going to slow down, or it could be problematic. It's not permanent. These are things in a transit sense. That are coming up to be reviewed and repaired, but the society is going to look incredibly different, especially after Uranus and Taurus goes retrograde. We can see a lot of changes happening with food and transport, the delays with it coming, but innovative ways that we can actually provide for ourselves. It's, you know, many years when I was working in a very different field to this, being an empath, I have worked in different fields. One thing I noticed was how you can directly implement your experience into different careers. And so, you know, instead of really looking at the box as square and it's like there's no way out, you tend to find when you go into a situation with fresh eyes, especially if you're a newbie going into a new work environment, you tend to see a different shape, you know, so you tend to see as you step back from a circumstance, you see a different way of handling it. And I think these circumstances that we're actually facing at this point are actually making us do such. If you're tired and stressed, you're not going to see those things, and that's why I always suggest, you know, step back from the painting. There's going to be a creative way, and sometimes that can come through in communication where you can talk to somebody else and maybe they have a better idea. It could be, you know, seeking a professional or trying a different system or leaving it for 5 minutes and coming back to it, whatever that thing be. From a romantic point of view, we are going to be experiencing a lot of flashbacks and deja vus, but we're definitely going to be experiencing some changes happening in connections. And, you know, those connections that maybe aren't working right now, there can be potentially breakups. I find it really interesting that I am seeing in the media at the moment a lot of marriages, which is pretty unique considering Juno's about to go retrograde, and Juno's a marriage asteroid. And I was like, oh, I don't know about this, you know. Generally speaking, with Venus retrograde, it's not the best time to actually marry or get engaged. It's more than like, you tend to, it's like Coyote Ugly. You get the good, the bad, and the ugly. This is a pivotal time where, from the 12th house point of view, we're going to be psychologically looking at how connections are, where the stability is, where the spiritual connection is. The funny thing was, I did say in the twin flame community, especially because of the placement of Juno, a lot of you are going to psychoanalyze it and say, well, maybe am I a twin? You know, is this even real? And I call it the Dana, Scully, and Smolder analogy that you go through as twin flames, where you question it because it's the house of spirituality. So you can be, you know, tapping into that maybe, using different ways to actually keep yourself grounded. But there can be other things that are coming in where you're questioning your connection and whether both parties are on the same page. Many that haven't been in communication can reach contact and reunion. Other people really that are in connections that you've maybe been in a connection or a partnership out of an obligation or a society standard, some cracks can really form over the 13 weeks of its retrograde. There tends to be a little bit more challenges when it does go retrograde. It's moving retrograde as of the 24th, and Aries in Chiron, the wounded healer, moves retrograde on the 19th. So I would say pretty much from here until the 19th, we need to bear in mind that we're going to have ups and downs. We're adjusting to it. It's a little bit like moving into a wave. So as you're moving into that wave, it's going to feel emotional. How is the DM able to get in karmic relationships, but DFs have been blocked? If a DM's in a karmic relationship, you have to say to yourself, this is where I am in my life. If they're in a karmic relationship, at some point, we may have been in a karmic relationship as well. But it could usually be with various energies. It could be with a family member. It might be with a work colleague. And when I do my coaching with my clients, I tend to say on a piece of paper when you're doing the mirror, write all the things down on one side. You kind of fold it in half because it's all energy, right? Twin flame path is all to do with energy and mirror work. And so you have to do the work, right? And don't ever think that they're not doing it because you're joint energy. Write down one side what you think they need to sort and where they have problems. Is it behaviour? Is it healthy boundaries? Whatever those things are. Then step away from it for a little bit. Go and have a cuppa and come back and then apply it to your life and see where the same principle applies and where you feel spiritually the blockages are. Usually when I do a coaching, I can pick where the blockage is and then I can give people homework where they can go away and work on that. And we do, you know, I've been coaching clients over the last, I would say, 5 or 6 years. Lucky enough for me, I didn't know I was a twin till 5 years ago. I just thought I was a psychic medium. And yeah, it was totally mistaken. Which I was very glad I didn't know. Very glad. Mind you, I probably wouldn't have had the information to share had I known, because I would have had too much attachment there. At this point, because we have divine masculine's astrology hitting the 12th house to the 1st house, those that were Sagittarius and Gemini should have had a reconciliation by now. But because the placement moved into the house of Pisces, it's delayed it so that the fruit is ripe and you can get the full situation. But if there's remaining attachment, spiritually and psychologically, it's been purged at this point in time. And generally you find with Juno retrograde and direct, you go through a spiritual cycle in that process and you have a reconnection and movement. But generally it does bode well because you're going from the 12th house to the 1st house. I hope that makes sense. From a karmic point of view, it depends on when they linked. You know, has this been an ongoing connection? And does the situation mirror a circumstance you were in at a certain time? Because usually you'll get swaps, right? Where you'll have a circumstance that they've lived through and then you swap and they live through it. And I hope that makes sense. But at this point, if some of those twins did go into a karmic relationship around, November, December, probably even October last year, but more so November, December last year, January, February, those connections generally won't last because they were formed during a Venus retrograde. And it's generally to close the cycle. And it usually isn't that enjoyable, to be perfectly honest, but it depends. At the moment, some of those twins that actually have like codependency or substance abuse, they will be going through spiritual changes at this point too. And it can be that they're dealing with a partner that has that issue. So those are the things that are getting kind of cycled out at this point. And a lot of us are going to get to a point where we're kind of reflecting upon some habits with diet and health and pacifiers and, you know, astrologically speaking, towards the end of the month, it's a very bad portal to start a new habit. If it's a healthy one, fantastic, it can last a long time, but to actually form another pattern of a habit, it can be very long lasting. So I hope that gives you some context. Hi Tammy, how you been, darling? But usually if a masculine blocks you, it's because they're in a relationship and they're trying to protect you. And there's nothing really to talk about while they're in it, apart from, have you made up your mind? There is always this kind of addictive quality in a pocket of the journey where there's this longing to communicate. But until they've closed that, kind of communicating in that portal kind of can keep it quite stagnant. So by pulling the communication back, it actually helps it move so much quicker. You're goodish. Come on, lady, you've had a lot of experience. You're good at this. Be good. Hi, Dale. How are you? Oh, man, 25 years. I don't know how many. We laugh about how many breakups we had, but they did help us grow. We did need them. And I mean, if I was perfectly honest and I look back to years ago, there was a lot of growing. I remember through one breakup I had, and it wasn't with twin. I had a gentleman tell me, he goes, "YILDIZ, you don't know who you are." And how old was I? I was 25. But I had lived quite a sheltered life, you know, very much living inadvertently through my family and living for them, not for me. Empaths do that. So, yeah, that self-discovery of who I was, very separate to other people and their codependent needs, I was actually enabling psychologically. I'd taken that on as a role and I had to purge that. And it does tend to be any test that you have when you come back into the connection, it tends to be a commonality that you have with other people. So when you break that pattern, when you go back in, it's always different. It's never the same. So never are you actually theoretically repeating a pattern. And you'll find when it does become imbalanced is usually because you're focusing too much on their side. So it takes a great deal of, I had a beautiful compliment from a friend of my twins during the weekend. It was his birthday, and he says, "Yildiz, not many people like you actually work on yourself." And I went, yeah, do when you keep hitting a wall, and you physically will, because you'll get really tired of realizing that you just want to break patterns. You psychologically won't want to keep, you won't want to be Rapunzel up in a tower, letting your hair down, getting scared of everyone. You actually want to have a functioning life where you physically can exist with healthy and unhealthy people, where they don't have to define you, they don't have to affect you, and you have that inner peace. So for me personally, where I got to in my journey was I hit rock bottom. And so I physically said, I am so not doing this anymore. If I have to invest the rest of my life in working on myself, I bloody will, because I don't physically want to feel like this anymore. And it was bad enough being a psychic medium that for me, I always had this as a gift. But then to add the twin flame path into it, I would say 10 years ago, I started feeling my counterpart's energy quite heavily so, which made it extremely difficult to function, which is a lot of what they're going through at the moment. So to try and comprehend that and try and function, we've got that monkey mind ego involved, and it doesn't feel natural. It feels very foreign to you when you're going through that. You're sort of like, why am I thinking of this person? Even though I made my bed, I need to lie in it. It's not a very comfortable feeling, and it needs to be that it happens in a way in such that we reach peace with it. But it's about accepting at this point. Some of us are accepting in karmic paths, for instance, that maybe we failed. Maybe we have let somebody down. Maybe we've let a whole bunch of people down. And how does that feel to us? Expectation. Watched a beautiful movie, which I'll have to find the name of it and quote it to you guys. And it was about love, and it purely reminded me of twins. It starts with a bit of origami paper, and it's talking about how two people meet and then they split. And it surrounds a young lady who, I believe in this movie, she doesn't know whether she's gay or bisexual, and it showed the notion of unconditional love, and it was the most beautiful way to describe through this whole movie. So after this, I'll put the link up to the movie. I've watched it on Netflix, but it was a beautiful experience because she formed a bond with a young man, and he was in love with the girl, but he couldn't articulate things, and she was basically writing letters, love letters to this other person. And it was this third party situation where they all ended up having this love, but it was a different love than what you would think. It was unconditional love. It's I see you and I love you for who you are. It's not based on what I feel you need to be for me. And that is what unconditional love is. So in my path, I can most definitely say I have learnt to be that be it my twin was with somebody else, or having children and not having them with me, I learned to have that unconditional love for him because he had a right to have a life and I didn't own him. I yearned for him and I wanted to be with him, but I also loved him enough that I wanted him to be happy. And neither one of us really have had the most perfect life, but it's life. Do you know what I mean? And it's trying to come to terms with those things. So it hasn't always been the easiest path, and nor is life really. It's challenging. My DM is literally in a dream come true kind of karmic relationship. Getting all these people messaging me. They're being together in April. You're a dog, Tammy. Your general look, it's really funny. The further into your ascension, you've got no bloody relationship will work. I'll just be honest with you. And it's not, I have no fixation if you have to be with your twin. It's not. It's from my personal experience and from my coaching over the years. because it almost is like universe is a bit of a jerk and they put you in the naughty corner where you find relationships just won't function. They'll siphon your energy because the sacral chakra energy is supposed to be really, especially for divine feminine, filtered into your co-creativity, right? So it's supposed to be that you suppress instant gratification. I'm speaking code here, and you actually pour it into your career, you pour it into your exercise, or the things that you need to pursue to ascend you. And once you get into alignment of filling all those cups, you have from your twin, but you have to fill that purpose. So I would always say get a list and check what comes up for you, right? Check what comes up and write it down, because if it's, oh my gosh, where am I going to be able to provide for myself? Do I have my friendship groups? Do I have healthy boundaries? Whatever that list is that's coming up at that point, and it's always a different resume, that's your work you need to do at that point in time. And the more you do it, the quicker you do it, the quicker you're back in that connection. And you don't have to be in the connection, but you're passing tests, so you don't have to have this spiritual kind of in and out. You get what I'm saying? But until you guys both complete that, you'll keep coming back into contact. And you know, we don't want life to be that way, but it happens. It just continues to happen. It surely does. So, how many, Leonix, I saw your chat in the members hub. The people you were saying that were triggered, were they Leos still? I've been having some full-on dreams lately. They've been really interesting. Very interesting dreams at the moment. Well, Virgos and Pisces will be having an extremely hard time, especially linked to connections at the moment. Had a beautiful friend that come over yesterday, and their Pisces said, Dale, you're going to feel like you're having a midlife crisis. It's one of those hard things because Juno's retrograding. You find when you've healed, love, you don't have to be, but there's no fear of them either. Do you get what I'm saying? Once both parties in the mix have actually done the healing, you actually psychologically know any human being on the planet can hurt you. And even though it's almost like you've invested so much energy in it and through the healing, right, that you literally do look at them and go, I've actually invested in this already. I can't keep myself. So when I did meet people, and you do tend to attract twins closer to the higher you ascend, you will attract other twins. So many people can say, oh, I met a twin and that was my false. No, you know who your twin is, okay? And it's not fun. The easy one is usually you have met, say for instance, you are attracted to men, right? Because I'm not tagging sexist things. It's more, I'm trying to give an example. So if you directly are attracted to, say, you're a feminine and you're attracted to a male, not, you get my gist, you will attract a male that is holding and embodying divine feminine energy. So they'll match who you used to be. And you'll look at it and it's there to show you who you used to be and to see the positive and the negative of that. So we attract that of what we were or that of what we need to see. So I would attract people into my life that I chose not to take it down the romantic route, but they were the mirror to who I was, and they were twins. Upon passing those tests, yes, I actually had a revelation that I am whole. So there's nothing that I actually need from counterpart apart from harmonization of just being with that person. So it's nothing, I seek everything inside myself. I know that he can't make me happy. It's my job to make myself happy. So having those tools helps you actually balance that. So in saying, do you have to be? No, I didn't have to be. I chose to be, because we had both done so much work in our lives and had such a long history in and out. There was no question. It was almost like, well, why would I bother with somebody else? Because I've done so much work. It will be difficult for you to find somebody who has done as much work as you and it may not match your vibration. Do you understand what I'm saying? So theoretically, a lot of twins will say, but my twin's not doing work, and that's an absolute lie. It happens inside first and it happens outside after. It's our prejudice and our frustration that is projecting that. And just because a person's with a karmic doesn't mean to say they're not getting their shit together. Believe me, they are. And yes, it's more the process. So by the time you physically do get to that space, there's absolutely nothing to fear. Do you get what I'm saying? So it's more the, is this ever going to be okay? That will probably be your major question. And yes, it will be. It's not fun, but it will serve you, and you will be grateful after. You'll reach this euphoric energy and you'll be going, oh my God, I'm so glad I have gone through this, because we actually realize through the healing we go through that we physically had already been in prison. Do you get what I'm saying? So by being like holding on to wounds and being angry or being protective and being Rapunzel and putting ourselves in a tower, that's preventing us from living life. And that's worse than being afraid of a masculine. That's actually how we are constantly living. So by doing that healing, it's almost like you're swimming into an ocean of memory. So each time you dive in, it is painful. But each time you come back up, it's so much better, because you're actually taking the junk out and you're getting rid of it so it doesn't define you. And that's why I say, if you're able to, move into the wound. Don't move away from it, because you're ridding it of yourself and you're making peace with it. And look, making peace with the wound doesn't mean you're saying behaviors were okay. It's got nothing to do with that. Ridding it is because you don't need to carry it. It happened. Bad enough, right? So once you get to a point you can look at it from all sides, you then can function effectively, where you can understand people do that to themselves, not to you. So we don't outright, unless you're a complete narcissist, do you know what I mean? People generally react through their belief systems of, this is what I feel makes me safe, not necessarily I'm actually out here to get you. Do you get what I'm saying? Oh, thanks, Chris. Yeah, I just wanted to, because I know these transits are hard. I've so been on this path for so long, and the reason I studied astrology was for my ascension. I was like, okay, when's that next wave coming? Moreover, because I did have a long history in this connection, I used my connection and connected the astrology, connected the psychic energy. And so that the one benefit I do have is hopefully showing you guys how to actually work with energy and how to actually get rid of it to a point it doesn't have to define you. I mean, I'm warning you now, moving into the 19th, you're going to get triggered. So it's a little bit like I'm giving you the raincoat. And if you go out there and you get rained on, well, I told you. So it's more expected. Expect that you're going to have triggers. But as it retrogrades, it's actually going to help us. It's like, oh, that's where the problem is. That's what I was doing. Oh, crap, I didn't think that. You know, I've had some revelations. I'm still working on myself. You know what I mean? And I have that self-talk. I've got the inner child that becomes reactive, but I've also got the adult saying, you best not be doing that. You've been there, YILDIZ, you've done that. You're not doing this anymore. And you're breaking patterns. Remember, we're adults and it's bloody hard to break patterns. So it's checking yourself and saying, no, not doing this. It's like, okay, you know, you could go into paranoia. What are they doing? Who are they talking to? Who are that? And it's like, you've got enough problems yourself. You think you need to be worried about this shit? Come here. You know what I mean? So it's being practical with the thought processes that you have, so you're not going down the rabbit hole. You know, another thing is, which, like I said, by the time I move, I'm sorry if the camera's crappy, by the time I move, I am doing the education content. So the education content is going to give you tips, it's going to give you training, it'll tell you how to break the wound down. Look at this funky hair. To the left. Yeah, it'll just give you context. Do you know what I mean? I think sometimes when we say, but I've done the healing, you know, why isn't it here? If you've done the healing, honestly, you'll start looking at your life, and this is what you need to do. I'm blessed, right? You need to look at your life and say, how has your mood been, right? And it's not to say you need to go back into any connection or that you have to be perfect. Not at all. But You need to be to the point you're like a boat on an ocean and you're waving, right? So if you can physically say that your ebbs and flows are pretty fluid, you're in a good place. If you're getting to a point you're up and down, or you're abrupt, yeah, like I'm meaning, up and down like a yo-yo. If you're thinking on something, you need to say to yourself, every time a trigger comes up, you have to say to yourself, okay, you've been, and this is if you've looked at it before, not a new one, an old one. And this is a good tip to give to get you out of it. And it's going to give you context and a way to retrain the brain so that you're the nav man, not your bloody thoughts. So if there's a thought that comes up, you need to picture a circle and say, okay, how many times have I looked at this number one? And if it's been 100 million times, then you're going to really tell yourself off, right? You're going to go, okay, is there something I can do? No. Is it something you're thinking your masculine needs to do? Do that chart. Have it there in a diary. And you can go journal it down. You're having a revelation. It pops up and you're thinking, they need to do this. Why haven't they? Oh, they're going to need to do that. Write it down then and walk away from it. You need to say to yourself, right, I've thought about this 100 times. I will give myself 10 minutes permission to think about this. That's all I'm allowed. 10 minutes. Then you're going to reduce it. Then it's going to be 2 seconds. You're going to get to a point, if it was 2 hours, you think that's 2 hours of your life you're giving away, and you're trying to control the mind so it's balanced. So you're going to, whatever time frame that is, go from the highest to the lowest, and you're reducing it down. And you're saying to yourself, I'm going to give myself 5 minutes grace to go into this. Because it's yes, it's tapping into a thought. And then ask yourself, is this thought serving me? Am I trying to research? Because there's 7 stages of healing, right? So we are going into it for a logical reason. But if you've looked at it a million times, is it? It's like, okay, is this healthy? Am I telling myself a self-fulfilling prophecy? Do I even know some of these things that I'm saying to myself are gospel, or are they physical fair-based situations? Some of them can be what they're doing, how they're doing it, how they felt on an occasion, with what word they used and what that directly meant, and you're dissecting it. Whatever that be, if it's an old situation, you're to go from the highest point to the lowest point, and you need to get it down to 2 seconds, right? So it comes and you acknowledge it, and then you say, I'm in control. Thank you for bringing that trigger up. It could be in an environment. It might be a song comes in, but the whole world isn't going to change for you. You need to function inside that world. So it's by doing that, you can physically get that situation back under control. So it's not to say that the wound was fair, or that hurt was, the hurt's warranted, right? You're allowed to be hurt, but you're not allowed to live in hurt, because then you're giving it permission to thrive in there like a host. And that's not what we need to do. Nobody needs to live in Hades forever. Do you get what I'm saying? So I would do that, and it would come up, and then you're being the adult. You're acknowledging the inner child. It comes up and it's screaming, and you're going, ugh. And then you're going, have I looked at this before? Yes. Is there anything I can do about it? Circle of concern. It's out of my control. It's something my twin needs to do. Why am I thinking about it then? I'm not him. I'm not her. Whoever it is, right? And then you can come back to this moment, and gradually what you'll find is, if you can do that, you're going to calm it down to the point where you'll say, it's okay for me to have an emotion. It's not illegal. But also, I'm not going to contaminate my mind with thinking this. It's driving me bloody crazy. So you're being the adult and you're being the inner child simultaneously, and they're working in unison. I hope that makes sense. You know, feeling very awkward. Why is that, my darling? Why are you feeling awkward, Chris? Are you Pisces? I can't remember now, Chris. I cannot remember. I don't know who this person is. Somebody's messaged me. I'll have to go in a minute. I'm waiting for a phone call. But I thought I'd jump on and say hello. And I will see you guys during the week. If you want more coaching, we are in the members this Wednesday, so jump through and jump in. Yeah, but you know what? When you get tired, though, what I can say is you literally, it's almost like universe's way of saying, okay, it's time to go to sleep, or you crack, you know, you get to the point, you let it all come out, the snot and all, and that is a way for you, because we don't actually realise sometimes we're actually holding on for grim death. It's like, I've got to hold it together, and it's like, it's okay to go to bed and cry, you know? I wouldn't say regularly use the bedroom to perch, because remember, that's supposed to be your zen space. So for a long time in my purgatory experience, when we had Chiron and Pisces, I actually did not give myself permission any longer to go into my bedroom, because it was like, no, you're supposed to be sleeping in there, and that's turning into a purge room, and it's just not cool, you know? I always wear black. This is who I am, you know? Yeah, you don't have to be like happy every day. You have your days, you know what I mean? But you with Leo in the chart, it is going to be hard at the moment. So you're going to have, especially by the last week of July, because it's all 12th house. 12th house, like I said, it's the house of imprisonment. It's the house of psychology, meditation. So I would say, you know, get it to the point where, you know, if you're getting tired, being self-aware, taking yourself away, trying to calm them, especially near the Leo moon, because you've got that going on, which is really positive. You can have lady luck, but all of us are going to feel very, very tired at the moment. Really tired. Yeah, my sleep, well, my sleep has been, I've been sleeping later, but I had, probably I would say after the Capricorn moon, I was sleeping quite a bit. A little bit, I was agitated around then as well, but then it calmed down, and the nausea, it was bad. There was a lot of nausea. Mm. 2 tired, I can't sleep. Yeah, chronic fatigue, right? Anyway, I'll love you and leave you. And I'll probably come back during the week as well and jump on, and I'll do a bit of astrology, especially with the update with the aspects. Do a little bit of tarot, answer some questions. But yes, the education content will be coming. I'm trying to shuffle everything around, and I am moving, so I've had to really multitask. You know, we do have the star signs out at the moment on the website. We have them twice a month. One of them is going to be, the way I'm doing them is they're going to be a combo between video and blog subscription, and it goes house by house. It covers twin flame, Venus, and all the rest of it, and I break it down, especially in the video. And so come August, it's going to be, the first edition will be the monthly astrology, and the first half of the blog post will be to do with your star signs for the first half of the month, because it's bi-monthly, and the second will be an overview astrologically for the second part of the month to give you tips and updates, and then it's again your subscription blog post. But we've got Twin Flames Weekly on there as well, and we've got a special out at the moment for a troll for the VIP, which you get both of them, but it does help you with, you know, where your triggers are coming up, where the purging is coming from, how to balance it, where is it going to hit you the most, how to keep, you know, how to keep those things going. And in the star signs, I do cover your business and career astrology as well. So if you need added support, the moon videos are going to be out soon. I've got the full moon in Capricorn, which will still be really linking. We're still really recovering from that. You know, a lot of these aspects at the moment are reminding me of 2020, which is a little bit worrying. We might have a little bit of restrictions coming back in again due to the transits, but it won't be for very long. But Aries and Chiron, you do need to look after your wellness more so at the moment, because you can get run down. So eating the food groups that are, you know, really balancing you, looking after your wellness with that, and just keeping in vibrational alignment. Rest, you know, echinacea, whatever that is that you feel is going to work for you to keep your vibration high. Okay, guys, take care. Try to, you know, give yourself a break. It is emotional, but it is going to pass. That's about the best I can say, okay? But definitely reach out to somebody that you know. Don't let it go too far if you are getting into depression, okay? Behave.